Good evening. Welcome to this episode. Nah, I'm not doing that crap. Oh, welcome to the Reloading Podcast here on the Firearms Radio Network. I want to take time to thank Jake and Ryan over at Patriot Patch Company. PatriotPatch.co. Oh my goodness, did I just see the new May patch of the month, and it's gonna be epic. So, yeah, it's really awesome. Honestly, that's one of the nice things about being a Patch of the Month Club member is you get to find out what the next patch is before everybody else. So, but I'm not gonna spoil it. Just gonna say it's pretty epic. So another awesome job by Ryan and Jake. Wanted to take time to thank Sean and the gang over at Firearms Radio Network for giving us a place to hang out every week. And thank Mark Hookham, who does most of the editing for the podcast. Thank you. The reason, as of 7:02 p.m. on April 23rd, that 246 hasn't posted is because some dumbass forgot to send Mark the file and didn't realize it until late Sunday night. So I spent most of last night editing because I know Mark's busy on Monday and Tuesday nights. So I'll finish getting that edited tonight, get it posted. So, naughty Mike. So, at any rate, crap, I forgot where I put that shell. I did have a shot shell to show because I was going to show what happens when you try and put ounce and eighth of shot in a 1 ounce wad, but I don't know where it went, so I guess I can't. I took a picture of it. I'll post it. Well, maybe I can bring the picture up. I don't know how good of a picture it is.
So for those of us that know absolutely jack about shot shell reloading, like this guy, what happens? Does it not fit?
No, it doesn't. It's like putting 5 pounds of shit in a 3-pound bag.
Like trying to double charge a rifle round with a slow powder. Gotcha.
All right. Ooh, I can screen share that. So, while I'm looking at this, why don't you tell everybody what you've been up to, Phil?
In Guns and Reloading, I've been putting together my packing list for this Project Appleseed event I'm going to this weekend. And it's become extensive just because not only is it a 2-day Appleseed shoot, but it's also my first one. So I really desperately don't want to leave stuff behind that I might need. And I'm also camping for 2 nights with Tom from the Armed Squirrels Project and his co-host. So need to pack for a camping trip in conjunction with everything else. But I'm going to be hauling my AR out, which Mike has been giving me hell about for weeks because I'm not bringing a 22 LR. But just loading some extra ammo. I've got more than plenty, but I want to have some extra out there in case we're going plinking or anything like that. And trying to plan on, tools, spare parts, just in case my gun goes down, I want to be able to put it back in action. So I'm bringing like an OOPS kit and an entire spare bolt carrier group. And between those two things, almost anything that go wrong with an AR can be remedied. That and the right tools, some punches and hammers and that kind of thing. But other than that, just really been focused on getting ready for that. I've got an 8.5-hour drive to get up there to southern Arkansas from where I live, and I'm sure it's going to be a party. I'm looking forward to going and enjoying the event and seeing what it's all about. And I'm sure we might be talking about that in a week because I'm going to be driving home on late Sunday night and taking Monday off work so I can sleep.
I can't wait to hear. Appleseeds are an awesome event, and you'll have a blast.
The fact is that Tom's a red hat for them, and he's been extolling the virtues of that organization and what they do, and the fact that it's like a combination of practical marksmanship, which I think everybody should know how to shoot a rifle, and like early American history, which I think everybody should know their own country's history. It's what reason do I have not to go? I mean, it sounds like a weekend long party to me.
Pretty much.
And I plan on bringing a fifth of Gentleman Jack and some cigars. So
nice.
There will be assorted hooliganism after the guns get put away for the night.
Yeah, that's my goal is to shoot one this summer. So I still have to get my rifleman patch.
I was actually like getting ready to go to one last year, right before prepper camp in September. And I cannot specifically remember what happened, but it was kind of like we had too many things popped up on the weekends. And if I was gonna get everything done I needed to for prepper camp, I had to wave off that Appleseed event. And Tom has been on me ever since to go to one, because they have them down here where I live in Southern Louisiana, but it's always been on a weekend when I had something going on. So when this one in his own backyard popped up, he was like, I'm going to be there and you need to go. And I was like, okay, shoot me the information and I'll register and I'm going.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Jason? Other than sitting over there with a masterful mustache looking quite proud of yourself.
Nothing. Next.
What?
It's
nothing.
My busy season.
It's your what?
My busy season.
It's painting time.
Oh, well, but wait, you're earning gun money.
I am earning gun money.
See, that I always tell people you were always doing something in Guns and Reloading, even if it's just earning gun money. That is a valid answer.
Okay.
All right. So,
yeah,
that's what it looks like. Except for it had a pile of shot sticking up out of it about 30 millimeters from the top edge of the ragged lip there.
That doesn't look like that'll go, Mike. I mean, full send it if you want, but that just doesn't. No,
not gonna go very well. So, yeah, it's kind of, well, if you're gonna fire it like at a real up angle, then it might work. But it's still trying to get it loaded that would be the problem, because you'd have to hold it like this. And you'd have to figure out how to get that shot shell in there. So, I mean, it could have been done.
I'm sure that much shot would have also been wildly overpressure, maybe. No.
I just need a different insert is the problem. So basically what happens with wads, I don't have one handy, but is they change the spacing on them depending on what size shot you're going to use. I can grab quick. I think maybe not. Where'd they go? Forgot where to put them. Oh yeah, never mind. They're over here. So yeah, basically what happens. Anybody want some fun? Ooh. So basically, this is a wad. And basically what happens with it is up here is the shot cup. And so how deep this is determines on how much shot it'll hold. Usually the overall length is the same. What changes, and I say usually because you can get wads that are actually different. What will change sometimes is the powder cup on the bottom, or the spacing here. They will change. And basically what happens when you pull the trigger on that shot shell, this actually goes forward and then bounces back before it ever starts to move. Well, that's why it's got the compression spots in there.
So it acts like a shock absorber for your...
Essentially. Yeah, shock absorber for the payload. So, and it's not drastic, but it's enough that That's why they put the little fancy stuff in there. I had a couple shot shells I'll cut apart one day. But that's not something you do live on the air. Because if you don't do it right, it can get messy. Not dangerous, just messy. Unless, of course, you're using a torch to cut it apart. Then it could get dangerous. So, whoops. I should go home now. I spilt beer. I tried using the bottle opener the way you're supposed to use it. It shakes the bottle too much. So I'll go back to the way I do it. All right. So
What are you drinking tonight, Mikey?
the usual. Spot it, go. Welcome, Travis.
Hello.
We were talking about wads.
About what?
Wads.
Wads?
Yeah.
I hope it's shot shell wads.
Why,
It
yes.
was.
Yes, it was.
All right.
I showed him what a shot shell looks like when you use a 1 ounce wad for a 1 1/8 ounce load of shot.
It ended poorly.
So I didn't miss a whole lot. Then, is what you're saying?
No, we were just talking about what we did in firearms and reloading and stuff.
Okay. So can I go then?
Yes, you can.
Okay. Because I'm real happy with what I did. I don't know if it's hard to see, but I built some nice little die organization shelves.
Those are amazing.
So for the guys who are just listening, I basically took some 1x6 and then took probably some 3/4 inch square stock, and I cut them into 5-inch pieces. And then I made 2-inch spacing, so each die slides in on those square stock. And now my dies don't sit on top of each other. They're maybe I can screen share something just a little bit, but they're just nice and organized now. And I didn't really realize how many dies I had, and I need more space now too. I need to build another couple sections there. Each one of those holds 10 dies, so I got 40 die sets there, and I need probably another 10 little section for another one. So it turned out real nice, though. I was real happy with it. It was just something I just on the whim decided to make, and I think they turned out pretty decent.
I'd like to call you an overachiever, but it really does look nice.
It was almost free. I think I spent $15 for the 1x6. And I did some yesterday. I went to the range, and I'm trying to get a nice little load set up for some 75 grain Hornady for my 223 for 3-gun long range setup. So I loaded up a bunch of those, and I went out to the range and was shooting out to 440 yards with them, and was pretty happy with them. So I think I'm gonna take those with me to this Saturday's match, and then kind of work around some better load development on those when I get back.
Travis, do you load for
after
50?
Jason runs it through quick loads and gets back with me.
Oh, I forgot. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You're welcome to remind me whenever you feel it's necessary.
Okay. I couldn't wait any longer.
Yeah. Do you load for 50 different calibers, or do you have duplicates for various reasons?
Some of them I have duplicates. I think I got 4 or 5 that are duplicates. But I have like I seen Phil's dies. He has dies for what he shoots. I have dies for some stuff I don't even have.
Yeah, but you and I had that conversation. Because of my own little philosophy on firearms and ammunition, I try to get kind of deep into cartridges rather than owning one of everything.
Yeah, but what happens when your other buddy says, "Hey, I got this caliber. I need to load for it. You don't have any dies or nothing. I got all the dies. If anybody comes over and needs something reloaded, I've got the dies already sitting here."
Consider for a moment that if they really are a buddy of mine, they've either got their own reloading equipment or they have enough ammo to outlast the apocalypse.
Well,
If they're
talking,
really a buddy of mine.
we're also talking two different scenarios. Just like I don't have a 270, but my buddy, I put some pictures on Instagram, I think last week, some 270s I loaded up for him, but he just asked, "Hey, can you reload 270?" I looked at my dies and said, "Absolutely, come on over."
Now,
And
what
if
I've
you
got
guys,
my friends to do, buy their own damn dice.
well, if you guys remember, I tried getting you all to jump on that Palmetto State Armory clearance of dies.
Yep.
So, I mean, I got probably 10 sets that I bought from those guys when they were clearancing that all out. So, like, I got that gold medal match 338 Lapua die set. I swear I bought those for $12 or something. And most of those dies were going for such an outrageously cheap price. I was just loading everything up I possibly could.
Yeah.
Heck, now that I think about it, Jason, I do have maybe 5 sets for my 22 250.
Just experimenting with different brands, or what was your reasoning for that?
They, like I said, they were cheap on sale at
Okay.
I had when I first started, I think that was one of my first die sets I bought was the 22 250 in Hornady. And of course I got a case stuck. So then I ran out and bought another set. So I had a backup die set. So I got 2 Hornady sets. And then when Palmetto had their clearance, I grabbed, just a couple RCBS sets from them. Also grabbed like RCBS X die, and then I also grabbed neck sizer die from them. Like I said, it was just too good of a deal to pass on stuff on that Palmetto State Armory sale. And I've gone back. It must just be getting out of the reloading die stuff, because when I told you guys about it, they had 1,050 items on that clearance. And I looked through every single item multiple times and just was adding everything into my cart. In fact, I remember texting Mike at like 1:30 that night saying, "You guys, you got to get on there and see what they're selling," because it was going for crazy prices. And now if you go to their die section, I think they only have like eight dies that are still in stock. They haven't restocked up. So I'm thinking that they just were getting out of the die business.
The guy I talked to at SHOT said no, they're not. They're still going to be doing dies and stuff. It's just those were a bunch of numbers that really hadn't moved in years.
Well, if you go over there right now and go to their dies, because I was just there yesterday, they have, I think, literally 8 dies, and they're like oddball calibers that nobody bought on the clearance.
So, one thing that Paul mentioned that I forgot to mention, because I don't really think about it much, but back to mine, is when you do have like a 1 ounce wad and you want to load a 1 1/8 ounce, you can actually load it and get it to actually crimp properly. What you do is you just have to compress the wad by seating it deeper, essentially, with a higher pressure. And that's an adjustment that's on all the shot shell presses. So, but see, I could have, if I needed to, I could have loaded that and gone with it, but I didn't. So if it was a case, especially like an STHF moment where you needed to load some, you can cram more shot into a wad than it's designed to hold just by compressing it. So
did you load up a bunch of shot shells on that 366 then?
No, I didn't have the right wads, so I figured I'll just wait till I get back from NRA. So. Yeah, so when I get back from NRA, then I'm going to get more. I'll get my wads and go from there.
And what casing and stuff do you kind of normally stick with? What's your hole that you stick with?
Well, I used to load. I had back when I worked for Checker, Shucks, and Cregan. One of the things that Checker, towards the last couple of years of Checker's existence, the guy that took over as CEO decided to start selling all sorts of stuff that he could somehow stretch and make it sound like it should be in an automotive parts store. One of the things was the Remington Game and Dove loads in 7.5. And so they never sold and never sold and never sold and never sold. And so finally they started clearing them out a little bit. And I told my boss, I was running a store at the time, and I told my boss, I said, these things aren't going to ever sell. I'll tell you what, I'll give you half price and buy them all at once. He goes, okay. So I got 10 cases of shot shells for $17.50 a case.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah. So, I had all those we shot up, and we were saving the hulls on those. One thing you learn in shot shell reloading is there's a lot of hulls out there that they say you shouldn't reload. But when you start digging into the people that are doing this on a regular basis, a lot of them are reloading them. Some only reload once, some reload twice, some more than that. I had so many I didn't care. I was reloading them once and chucking them. Didn't make a difference. But once the boys got serious about trap, I decided that instead of continuing, as they were getting serious into trap and they were on the trap team, just like we do with everything, you try and reduce variables. So I went and got 1,000 once fired Winchester AA hulls. And so that's what I've got now.
Okay. Yeah, because I was just asking because I was thinking back on a video I watched not too long ago of that same subject where a guy took basically just a mix match pile of different hulls, and he did not change the recipe. He didn't do anything. He just loaded all of them up. This exactly the same. The ones that said you shouldn't be reloading, and he loaded them up, went out and shot them all.
Mm-hmm.
But he did only he said a lot of those were only one-time reloads on them. But I shoot double A's, and I sent you some pictures of some that I loaded up, and I was getting some weird little variations in them. And I'm thinking that's because they've been loaded too many times. Because where I shoot, nobody else reloads shotgun. So when everyone else is picking up brass, I'm the only guy out there picking up holes. And I love when I see guys shooting double A's because that's all I pick up.
Yeah.
But it's hard to tell now which ones are brand new and which ones were mine that I've reloaded a couple times. So I got to figure out a nice way of telling which is which, because it's just getting to where I'm just chucking a bunch of them, and I just bought a case of brand new double A's, and I'm going to start shooting those up and making sure I pick up my stuff up there that's brand new, and then I know the guys up shooting with me are all brand new and kind of keeping them separate.
Sharpie. Here's a real easy way for you.
Well, I'm like I said, I don't know. I'm having a hard time too, though. I can shoot my stuff, and then a guy who I know has got brand new, he'll shoot it, and on our range, we're either shooting kind of in gravel or kind of out in the desert, and everything's real dusty here in Idaho. So after so long, they all start looking exactly the same. I can't really tell which ones are brand new and which ones were mine that were reloaded twice or three times. You know me, though. I'm lazy. I'm not going to do that.
Well, then don't bother trying to figure it out.
I'm not. That's why I'm loading them up, and
So
I can grab one to show what's happening. They're actually kind of buckling right up at the top where the crimp is, and they work fine in a pump. So I'm actually just, when I get those, I throw them in a box. I'm going to give them to my buddy who has a pump. He can just shoot them up rather than me tearing them back down.
yeah. Well, shot shells aren't as easy to tear down as metallic is. So.
Nope.
But yeah. See, what you're doing though, Travis, is you're not thinking properly. You have kids, right?
Yes.
Put them in front of the hulls and turn them loose. Problem solved.
It's not a bad idea.
So basically,
I got a 7-year-old who might do that.
right? And they're old enough to understand. So basically, how this works is it sits in here like this. Well, when I had the shot, if you've got your wad set right, then your shot's level, and this has got plenty of room to crimp. However, my shot was all the way up to the top because this is only designed to hold 1 ounce. So basically what happens when you're compressing it is you're essentially using these to your advantage. And so I don't know if I can get it to compress or not. They're a pain in the butt to compress. Anyway, so basically what you're doing is you're kind of squishing it. And so instead of the lips of the wad being way up here, now you've moved them down to here. And so you've created more room in your hull that the regular wad would have created. So that's kind of how that works. But Paul Nelson said he usually gets about 7 reloads with double A's. So, like I said, I'm only on, I think for most of them, second loading. So, but yeah, that's what's interesting there. All right, where'd he go? Come on.
So I was trying to hurry and recreate that for you, Mike. I kind of really messed. I put too much in that one, but that one.
Yeah. So, yeah, so shot shells are fun. They've got their own sets of issues, just like, metallic does. But it's definitely fun to do. Charles is trying to learn. He's never loaded shot shells. Charles, we'll do another night of shot shell reloading, where we'll pull out the press and actually go through it step by step. So, and Greg asked if paper hulls are better, and Paul answered for me. No, paper hulls are not better because they require a special crimp. So it's even more of a pain than just a regular roll crimp, because the plastic rolls nicer than the paper does. So, but yeah, we'll get into that at some point in time. Sometime this summer, probably, when we start to get towards fall. When the waterfowl season comes rolling around. So, anyway. It is time for the cartridge corner. Tonight's cartridge, 2535. What are those 3 stupid little letters behind that? What the hell does WCF mean? Does anybody know?
I mean, I cheated and read the show notes, but
Well, then you know, answer the question.
Winchester Centerfire.
There you go. So therefore, if you see a WRF, what's that mean?
Winchester Rimfire.
Correct.
Gold Star.
Uh-oh. Yeah. Sorry. Took too fast of a sip of the beer and it started to climb.
Now, did you use your cool little bottle opener for that?
Yep. I used it even the way you're supposed to. However, I found out when you use it the way you're supposed to, it spills beer. So I'm going to go back to the way I was using it, which is bass backwards.
I got you a new package coming on that too, just so you know.
Oh, why, thank you. Paul Loud had a good thought for WCF, Wicked Cool Factor. So, all right. So, 2535 WCF was designed in 1890. Oh, wait a minute. We forgot to do something. Damn it. I almost forgot. So, today is some old bastard's birthday. And even though he decided not to show up because he's having a birthday party, I told him we were going to sing happy birthday and then make fun of him for being really old.
I mean, after you've had like 250 or 260 birthdays, how special is it that he couldn't show up?
Right?
I mean, damn.
Does he even know what day he was born on, or is he just making up a date at this point?
I think somebody wrote it down at some point in time.
No.
Stone?
Yeah, when Moses came around finally, because I guess he and Moses were born on the same day, just Jim was a few hundred years earlier. So
No. See, the problem is scientists still disagree about when exactly the Earth cooled enough to form a crust and become Earth. So that's why we're not entirely sure what day Jim was born. He's literally as old as dirt.
well played, sir. Well played. So should we sing happy birthday to Jim or just pretend?
I guess.
All right. So 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to
you.
Everybody out of step and off tone. Great.
Right. we sang properly for us. That's about all it gets. So, I was gonna, get a cake and candles and stuff that was representative. However, now that my boys are probationary firefighters, they did inform me that would seriously violate the fire code to try to have that many candles in this small of an area. So
you could have got a mud pie, old as dirt,
right? So, all right, back to the cartridge. Cartridge Corner 2535 WCF Winchester Center Fire was designed in 1895 for the Winchester Model 1894 lever action rifle. Parent case is a large rifle primer based off the 30-30 with a 2.58. Wow, 2.58 would be huge. 0.258 inch, 6.6 millimeter round. Ballistic performance based off 4-grain types of velocity for 24-inch barrel are 30-26 feet per second for 60 grain, 28-15 for 75 grain, 15-13 for 90 grain, and 23-57 for 117 grain. I'm not quite sure how that works, but okay. Loading manual's not here at the current second. So, production on the 2535 WCF cartridge ceased after 1940. By that point in time, any of the quote black powder based cartridges, which are most of the ones where you see the 25, the number dash number, were kind of falling out of favor other than the venerable old 30-30. So, but Winchester, being the way they are, aka Olin Manufacturing, reintroduced it in 2005 just before they went broke. Who knew? Browning picked up the rights to manufacture rifles for the 25-35 WCF under the Winchester name, and commercial factory-loaded rounds are still available. Hand-loading brass and rounds are available from dealers such as Sierra, Hornady, along with Mount Baldy Bullet Company. Anyway, so I'm guessing that's yada yada. So the 25-35 can kill medium-sized game up to 100 yards distance and small game to 200 yards. Ooh, rabbits. Better suited as small game or varmint when used with commercial rounds. Hand loading have been able to produce higher velocity shots with deeper penetrating wounds and targets out further than 100 yards. So that is the 25-35 WCF. One of those that went away and came back. So, and it never really did. Excuse me, it never really did go away. Because obviously, there was still plenty of stuff around from 40 till hand loading really started after World War II. Really, there was hand loading before, but the golden age of hand loading, shall we say, started to really kick off after World War II. Early 50s is when it started to really fire up and stuff. So that's one of the things that kept this cartridge going, along with quite a few other ones. So, anybody ever shot a 25-35? Anybody?
I'd never even heard of it before tonight. But then again, I'm not up to date on really obscure cartridges. So,
yeah, you pretty much stick to 9 and 5.56.
No, I branch out a little bit from there, but my firearm collection's not deep enough yet that I have the available income to dabble in the rare and the obscure. And when it does, I'll probably be playing with, big revolvers that scare the hell out of me. Because that's just been where my interest has been lately. Like, I still want a 460 Smith & Wesson for reasons.
Compensating?
Not according to my wife.
Well, that's good, because that's the only one that matters.
No, it's more the idea that it's an enormous revolver that scares the hell out of me, and I can download 45 long Colts and hand it to, my kid. Maybe not quite my kid, but you get the reference.
If you go 45 long Colts and that is, unless you've got the 10-inch barrel, she could probably shoot it. So. Liberals everywhere would be scared, but she could shoot it.
Oh, then I should post a video of her shooting a Henry Survival rifle when she was 3.
So
raising them right.
That's right. Well done. Paul Loud says he's got one in 94. That would be a 25-35. So Nelson said that wildcatting was much more prevalent before the war, just as a add-on to the whole timeline of 25-35, and so it really was. If you look at a lot of the quote standard cartridges now that started out as Wildcats, a lot of those were 20s, 30s, and even somewhat into the 40s, and then picked up a little bit after.
Why is that? Like, what's the historical reference point or event that caused that trend?
Some of it was necessity. Some of it was just.
Do you think the war maybe had something to do with it? Because, all of a sudden we have a massive buildup in military brass. So cartridges that are based off of military brass are going to naturally decrease in price and increase in availability of reloading components versus more obscure
You're talking
stuff.
about like in between the wars, probably?
Well, that and post-war. Post 1945, you've got, the country is now swimming in 30-06 brass, 45 ACP brass.
Mm-hmm.
So anything remotely based on 30-06 ought to be fairly easy to get a hold of brass.
Right.
And if it's a bespoke cartridge, that's going to immediately screw up your pricing.
Yeah. A lot of it's, the availability of milsurp after the wars, after World War I, after World War II. But I think probably the bigger driving force was the fact that people now had free time.
That's a good point in that.
A lot of people had a lot of free time. And usually the ones that had free time had lots of money to do stupid stuff with. And so, or, still the driving force today. Well, this cartridge kind of does what we want it to do, and this one kind of does what we want it to do. But what if we take this bullet and we put it in this brass with this powder? Will it do exactly what we need it to do? So that was kind of the big driving force, because you got to remember, especially 20s and 30s, and actually probably even all the way back to the aughts and the teens, especially the aughts and the teens, black powder cartridges was really just starting to go away, and smokeless was really starting to be king. And so a lot of those black powder cartridges where you could just swap and throw around and everything, because the pressures were so low and it wasn't going to cause any problems, you didn't have that option, and you didn't have the soft lead bullets that if you threw say a 30, a 30, you try to take like a 30-40, and not a Krag, but like a 30-40 black powder cartridge, and shove it in a 25 bore, you could, the lead was soft enough, it'd go down the barrel, and you could probably kill stuff out to about 50 yards with it. But as you started to go smokeless, so now those pressures are really creeping, and you try and do that with, even if that lead's soft, you try and do that with smokeless powder, you're gonna blow up your gun. So that was kind of the big thing, and there's just the American ingenuitive spirit is a lot of it too. So, but
yeah, it goes about, you might be on something about the changeover from black powder to smokeless, kind of discouraging wildcatting and reloading there for just a little bit, because you're right. It was World War I when smokeless powder really started coming to its element. I mean, hell, think about it like this: before the French standardized on a military issue smokeless powder cartridge, I don't think really any of the military had embraced the idea. They initiated an arms race and small arms cartridge reloading overnight.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody had to have a smokeless powder cartridge after that, and Spitzer bullets right behind that.
Right.
But it changed the reloading technology almost overnight.
And because of how we were industrialized, if you wanted something back then, you had to hand make it. There wasn't like we've got now, where if I decided I'm going to pull a Wildcat cartridge out of my ass, I can call 10 different gunsmiths today and say, yeah, I want it to have this bullet, I want it to have this shoulder, I want it to have this brass as a starting point, I need dies for it, and I need a chamber for it.
Point of order, you call a proctologist if you want to do that. But
right.
Gunsmiths don't do that kind of thing
right.
that I'm aware of.
Usually. There are some wacky ones out there that maybe have been, proctologists in a former life. I don't know, but I
got a grin out of Jason and nothing out of Travis. That joke fell flat.
I don't think Travis is awake. He's had a rough day. So, yep. Thomas Peterson said, I'm just saying we killed a ton of buffalo with good old black powder cartridges. It's also a different ball game. It was stuff as much black powder as possible and get it in the gun. It was so fat and big. Yeah. The 45s and the 50s. I mean, for crying out loud, they've got a 50 caliber bullet with 110 grains of black powder behind it. All right.
I'll try one. Just one.
Right.
No, but and my co-host on my own podcast, and we were kicking this around. We were talking about like the history of firearms development,
mm-hmm.
and we tried to do that in an hour and 15 minutes. It was very aspirational, and we skipped around a lot.
Right.
But the one thing I point out to him, I'm like, you have to think about it. Like, without the advent of smokeless powder, in other words, if we hadn't gone from black powder to smokeless powder, you never get the semi-automatic firearm, because you and a few other people have tried to make. Have tried to make like 5.56 and 9mm with black powder, and it's so damn dirty it jams up semi-autos fairly quickly. So I guess my way of looking at it is there would have never been a machine gun if we'd never got away from black powder and gone to smokeless.
I don't know.
I would love to see somebody try it and see how long it'll run.
So,
But
um,
But I guess my point of view is I'm like, the changeover from black powder to smokeless, that coincided with and enabled this enormous jump in firearms technology. I mean, if you look at the history and the timeline of what changed from one generation to the next, with the advent of smokeless powder and with the change from round nose bullets to Spitzer bullets, you then get this compressed period where there's all these firearms advances in a short amount of time. And prior to that, it took pretty reasonable amount of time to get another generational jump. Of course, same thing happened with automobiles and airplanes and every other daggum thing at that point. So,
right. I think Paul Nelson said probably the single biggest thing that made the difference, though, new rifle actions that could actually handle the pressure. I mean, you take the Mauser action,
yeah,
which everybody's ripped off since then. But
with reason, it's a damn good action.
right. So, I mean, if you take the Mauser action and you don't have the Mauser action where you don't have that bolt lockup, even with smokeless powder, you don't get the pressure ranges that we have. You wouldn't. A lot of the cartridges that are higher pressures, would not exist if we didn't have the bolt. So, because they wouldn't be able to handle it. Go ahead and try and fire a. Well, I suppose out of a single action, a break action, you could, but not many people would want to. But I mean, as far as the rest of that goes, try and fire a 3378 Weatherby out of a lever action and see how well that does. So, but I don't know. I've seen the guns after shooting black powder in them. And yes, they would get gummed up a lot quicker than a smokeless, but not as fast as you would think. But we're also talking modern black powder versus back then. So the black powder is, quality there is a big thing. So somebody mentioned the Gatling gun, but they weren't full auto. They were semi-auto because I had to crank it.
I don't even characterize that as semi-auto, more like rapid fire. It's not self-loading, I guess is my point.
Technically, because as you're cranking it, it is loading a cartridge in the chamber.
But it doesn't self-load. It doesn't load under its own power.
No.
You are providing the horsepower that makes it load and fire. It doesn't
Right.
It doesn't use the energy created by recoil or by gas pressure to load the next cartridge.
True.
Reset the fire.
Yeah.
If I have to be really, really technical, I will be, but
yeah. I don't know. I consider the Gatling somewhat of a self-loading because technically, but it's not truly in the absolute definition of self-loading, no.
it's self-loading in the same way a revolver is.
Mhm.
Keep pulling the trigger, keep spinning the cart, keep spinning the cylinder, keeps recocking the hammer and dropping it.
Not really, because you actually have to physically put the cartridges in each chamber. So, but I get your point.
Okay, so a belt-fed revolver. Oh, I just gave somebody a bad idea. You know what? If we get a machinist, and we know a couple of those, to turn down the outer diameter of that cylinder, so that way it's each one of the holes is only halfway there. You just made a feeding mechanism for a belt.
However, the first time you pull the trigger, you're going to blow the top strap off. Anyway, the biggest problem why you wouldn't really have a black powder machine gun, black powder doesn't create anywhere near the gas or the gas pressure. So as Paul just said in the chat, black powder machine gun, recoil operated would work, gas gun wouldn't. Most of your successful machine guns are gas, not recoil. But I mean, you could probably get like a Mach 10 or a Mach 9 or whatever the hell it is, that stupid little open bolt blowback piece of crap that you can pick up. You could probably get one of those to operate on black powder.
I don't think there's been a recoil operated machine gun since World War II.
Right.
And none of those designs that were recoil operated stuck around much past World War II. I mean, they were very obviously superseded by gas guns.
Mm-hmm.
Browning.
When you're using pressure when you're using the actual inertia to blow it back, you're picking up a lot of that dirt and stuff. Now, if you've got gas, it's a lot cleaner. So it'd be fun to try. I don't know. At some point in time, I am going to load up some 5.56 and some probably 40, maybe 45, maybe all three, with that, and see if I can get them to cycle. So
I bet 40 would actually work.
Huh?
Nothing. I don't want to take you down to the rabbit hole.
Yeah, we're
I've
not
done
going
that twice tonight.
No, we're not going there. So, you could fire anything with black powder. It's just lower pressure. The question is going to be, will it cycle the action? And that was the problem that they had with the High Point, which is a blowback. So it's designed to operate the way that you would need it to operate for black powder most efficiently, but it wouldn't cycle. And I have a feeling some of that might have to do with slide weight. So realistically, if you had, take a Glock, something where you can play around with slide weight and recoil spring, you could probably get one to fire black powder effectively. So that'd be fun. Yeah, I mean, if you got any of the blowback ones, like I say, the Mach or whatever, any of those subguns that are a blowback design, you could probably get those to run off black powder. So, but that is for another day. Today is not that day. Today, we have a question from John. Hi, guys. Long-time listener, and I greatly appreciate what you all bring to the shooting community. My question, we bring stuff to the shooting community? Okay. Just kidding. We're self-deprecating. What can we say? My question is about loading 9mm. I've been reloading 45 ACP for years. I enjoy it, find it relaxing, and have developed loads for specific pistols for accuracy and function. Just purchased a Glock 19 Gen. I'm sorry, and was wondering if it's worth reloading 9mm for it. Cost is not a deciding factor, but more so my confusion on their marksman barrel. Research tells me folks are scared of reloading lead cast for Glocks. And of course, Glock says no way. I think most of these concerns are for folks that don't clean their barrels after every trip. Is it worth reloading 9mm anymore? And if so, as long as I am careful and work up loads properly and clean my barrels after every trip, any reason not to use reloads in Glock Gen 5? Any input would be great. Many thanks, John. So first off, you have the reloading equipment already. So you're not going to be looking at the initial cost in that. You're just going to be looking at dies and brass and stuff, and maybe you have brass already. And you're looking at cast bullets. If you're casting your own, absolutely worth reloading 9mm. If you have to buy brass, if you're not shooting an incredible amount of 9mm, and you're not casting your own, then you can get a hell of a good deal on a lot of 1,000-round packs of 9mm right now. It's not really worth it, honestly. 9mm and 223 5.56 right now, the prices are so low that unless you're already doing it to get into it just for that, it's going to be a wash. So, in my personal opinion, and you can penny pinch and you can look and you can find deals and stuff and you can justify that, yes, you would save money. So, you're not doing it for saving money, so sure, game on. Especially if you're casting. Mark Kodra said Gen 5 has cut rifle barrel, not their polygonal. So go ahead and game on. So even if it was a polygonal rifle or polygonal or whatever they call it, even if it was, I have 2 words for you. Powder coat. No problem. No letting. But Jason, as someone who owns a Glock and shoots lead through it, what say ye?
Not an issue.
Exactly. Now, what steps do you take to to make sure there's not an issue.
I make sure my bullet is sized correctly.
And how do we do that, Mr. Jason?
Slug your barrel.
Correct. So what we mean by slugging barrel is we're going to take a piece of lead and we're going to shove it into the barrel to find out what the distance is of the actual bore. Just because a 9mm is 0.356 doesn't mean your barrel is 0.356. Just like in 45, just because it says 0.452 doesn't mean it's 0.452. In 40, just because it says 0.401 doesn't mean it's 0.401. Every firearm's different. It depends on how the rifling's cut, how the barrel's cut, how new is the tool they're using to cut the rifling. Brand new tool is going to have a lot larger rifling space than a worn tool that's worn down and not cutting as much surface. So
even the type of barrel manufacturer could influence that to some degree. Like if you're using like from the AK world, chrome line hammer forged barrels, those are notorious for having a pretty, I mean, not an inappropriate, but a much wider range of tolerances for the actual inside diameter of the lands and grooves just by the nature of the barrel. Because when you chrome line a barrel, you have to make it slightly oversized so that when you chrome line it, it comes down to the right size.
Right.
But the chrome doesn't exactly spray on in a scientific perfect way every time. So you wind up with a greater variance than you would, say, in a more modernly produced nitrided barrel, for example, or even a raw stainless one. And then you get into little variances between, like, whether it's broached or cut or button rifled. We can nerd out about this for hours, but your point stands. Everything influences what is the perfect size bullet for that barrel.
Yep.
I do disagree, though, however, about the idea that I disagree it's not worth reloading 9mm on a cost basis.
Okay. Do tell.
Because let's say hypothetically, you can find ammo cheaper than what I can reload it for. Last I checked my spreadsheets, I think I was like 13 cents a round on my 9mm, which is right in the ballpark for a really screaming burning the house down sale someplace.
Yep.
But my ammunition is more consistent than what you're going to buy at plinking prices.
Correct.
And to get equal accuracy or consistency to my ammo that I'm loading on my bench on a single stage, you're going to spend more. So
Correct.
From a cost basis, I say, yeah, why wouldn't you reload 9mm? You already have, if you're already reloading 45, then you already have your equipment. You need dies. A lot of the powders you load 45 with can load 9mm. May not be the perfect powder for it, but it'll do it. So if you've already got a 8-pound keg of powder for 45, you can probably find load data for 9mm. So you've already got powder.
Yep.
You need primers and bullets. And if you're really concerned about letting up a Glock barrel, quite frankly, go get copper plated. It's what I shoot. They run fine. I've never had an issue with letting a barrel. I've never had an issue with jacket separation or whatever you call it when it's copper plating, because it's not really a jacket. I've never seen those bullets break up, and I've shoved them as hard as I dare. So, I mean, if you're that concerned about leading, go get copper plated or powder coated bullets and rock on. And if you're he said cost isn't a factor, but I say, yeah, it's always worth it to reload. It's always worth it to reload, because if you want to make more consistent ammo, you can. And you can make more consistent ammunition cheaper than you can buy the same level of consistency, and you can make more consistent ammo for the same plinking price.
Correct.
I think I said that right. May not have, but it sounded good in my head. Holy Jesus, there's Moses.
No, he's older than Moses, remember?
Oh, that's right. We said Jim was born when the earth cooled.
Hey, now since Jim's here, I do remember Jim talking about this exact subject one time on the podcast.
What's that?
We're talking about a guy wanting to reload for his Glock and talking about the polygonal rifling. Do you remember what your opinion on that was?
Sure.
Are you going to tell us?
Well, yeah, I could do that. What's the question? Let me have the question if you don't mind.
Oh, it's long-winded, but basically, as long as the basic gist is about all the rumors and bullcrap perpetrated about leading in Glock barrels.
Okay. It's simple. I just cast my bullets hard.
Okay.
But I fire them as cast. I don't size them down. I'm thinking I haven't actually put a micrometer on them, but I'm thinking they're running about 0.403, 0.402 diameter. So I got a nice tight fit. So that way I don't have gas cutting. I don't have a problem with any leading being formed by the gas cutting. And the rifling, okay, evidently, I see trouble. Jason's muted his video, muted his audio. Oh boy, I think there's trouble coming. But anyway, the other thing is too, guys, you gotta have hard bullets. You gotta have good hard bullets, because the idea is to keep your bullet, a soft lead bullet will skid directly across the polygonal rifling, and it won't fire properly, or it won't behave properly, it won't perform well.
Yep.
You gotta use pretty much straight wheel weights or Lyman No. 2 alloy. Oh boy, I can't even see the chat.
It's probably a good
God.
thing.
Yeah, and Phil, all three of you dirty bums are plotting something terrible. There's that no good Jason Trumbo. He's the ringleader of all the shenanigans.
Maybe.
Mike is too.
Anyway, so
Yeah.
Phil, yes, actually, that's the same logic that I use for loading shot shells. The only thing that I would change that is if you don't have any reloading equipment and you're going to shoot less than, say, 100 rounds a month, then, and you're just going out plinking with your buddies, you're not doing any sort of accuracy, then maybe not. But I always say reload, because your ammo is going to be better.
But to hedge what you're saying, I do agree with you that for the person that's a casual shooter, like they're going to go out 3 times a year, and they don't view reloading as a hobby in and of itself, I tell them don't you dare try to get into it to save money, because
you're not gonna.
Well, not just that, but I also point out to people, I'm like, the minute you assign any value at all to the time you spend reloading, you just lost the argument. Like, to me, reloading is a hobby. I enjoy it, and it's relaxing. And on top of that, I get to make better ammo cheaper.
Well, reloading is a hobby. I won't quarrel with that. But reloading is also a survival skill. You as a prepper can't dispute that.
Actually, myself and another gentleman are in the process of having a debate about that in the lead up to the class we're going to teach on reloading at prepper camp. Because I argue that I don't believe reloading is like a true like post SHTF societal collapse type of skill to learn, because sooner or later we're going to run out of powder and primers.
That's why we stockpile, because we can't make powder, we can't make primers. Yes. I know the argument. You can reload primers.
But there's the fun part.
But we can make black powder.
But he argues
I know for a fact black powder can be made.
He argues that we can manufacture primers and powder and smokeless powder.
Mm-hmm.
And I told him, like, I mean, I guess technically you could, but I don't know. Anyway,
I don't have the knowledge to do that.
Here's my thoughts on reloading
with it.
Reloading for the 9mm with cast. When we had that shortage, 9mm is one of the most prolific calibers we have. So it's kind of hard when we're in a shortage. Everyone's out buying the already Full Metal Jacket, such projectiles. If you cast, you're saving money, but as long as you have some lead somewhere, you melt that down to your garage, cast up some projectiles, and you're always going to at least have the ability to, make your own projectiles. And then the problem with not so much with it's going to be any barrel, undersized, you're going to get that gas cutting. Mm-hmm. That's where you're going to run into issues.
That's right.
But you powder coat, you can kind of cheat a little bit and that's the poor man's jacket right there.
Yep.
Well, Jason, I got a question for you, buddy. Back when Jeremy was active on the podcast, didn't he tell us that he was actually using spray paint as a
He was
powder
spray
coat?
painting, yes.
Yeah, he was spray painting and then baking it.
So
And
the
it was
baking
working
would
just as
cure
well.
and harden. Baking would cure and harden the jacketing, the paint into a jacket of sorts. But I mean, that to me is even more of a poor man's jacket. You know that, Travis?
Yeah, I've never tried it. I had some guys are familiar with high tech coating.
Yeah.
I had some in my pocket that I forgot about, and I ran it through the wash machine, and it actually came off. So that's when I decided, and they weren't any that I did; they were ones that I bought. And when I got them out of my pocket, all the high tech coating came off. I decided that that's not something that I was ever going to be trying myself.
Well, Travis, remember in your pocket, they're in a very abrasive environment. They're beating on each other. They're beating on the fabric of the inside of the pocket.
Correct, but I can run these powder coated through the wash. Nothing will happen to them. And if I had a hammer right here, I could smash this thing flat.
Yes.
And powder coating will not flake off like paint would.
Well, that's pretty extreme. That's a pretty extreme test to flatten it with a hammer.
But that shows you the durability of it.
Yes, I'm not arguing that. Not at all.
But back to this guy's point, like you said, it's going to be the undersized projectiles and the gas cutting that's going to lead his barrel.
That's a fact. And if he uses a soft lead, he's also going to have problems with the damn bullets skidding directly through the rifling rather than picking up.
Now, Jim,
spiral.
is that the skidding you're referring to? Is that because of the way the polygonal cut is actually more? Isn't it more kind of a rounded cut in the lands in the rifling versus an actual? You know what I'm saying? The polygonal rifling, from what I understand, it's more kind of rounded. It's not like an actual cut rifling. Is that part of your thoughts?
That's exactly the problem. That is exactly the problem. You look at polygonal rifling in a Glock barrel, it's not cut at all. It's hammer forged by a rifling button that they actually draw through, and they pound the barrel against that button, and it causes a nice little radius, which picks up well with copper or anything hard like that. Now you can't even use a plated bullet in that because that plated coating isn't thick enough to be considered a jacket. It's only about 1 to 2 thousandths thick.
Just
That's
like
just
the
not
powder coating would be.
Right, it's just not enough material in the way of copper to harden up or to be stiff enough to accept the rifling. It will take the rifling, don't get me wrong, but it's going to wind up being softer than a copper jacket will be, and it'll wind up skidding straight through the rifling rather than spiraling through the rifling as a copper jacket will. Okay, I'm talking about using soft alloy. Now, I use a hard alloy. In fact, I'm beginning to think maybe if we could cast some zinc bullets, that actually might be worth a try.
So what I'm doing with this powder coating is I can actually, like I said, I'm cheap, so I can actually cast a softer projectile as long as it's the correct size. I can cast these a little softer and use my hardening alloy more sparingly.
Well, the only thing is, Travis, you're going to wind up having the same problem. If you make your alloy a little too soft, you'll skid through the rifling rather than picking it up and spiraling around through. I know it doesn't show well on the screen. Sorry about that. I'm making a gesture to take and accentuate my point.
I think
you understand what I'm saying. We're talking about. It's just like when you're slugging a bore. The rod that you're driving through to push the lead through, it doesn't spiral. It doesn't pick up the rifling. Yes, the lead slug does, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about getting straight through the rifling as opposed to picking it up and spiraling with the rifling.
Jim, are you going to get in trouble for being on the podcast when you're supposed to be enjoying yourself?
No, that's why I'm using the iPad. I'm here in the dining room. Oh, geez. Now, is that supposed to be a segue, Travis? I've
Not
already
that I know
had
of.
"Happy Birthday" sung to me 3 times now.
No,
Well, we already sang to you.
Yeah, we already sang to it. All right, question 2. Hey guys, just got my first brass simple L&L Classic. Just cleaned a bunch of brass that I've been collecting my own for a year now. I'm wondering, I may not reload for a week or so. Should I lube after it's dried from cleaning or wait until I'm actually going to load? Thanks. Will. P.S.
Wait.
Every one of you are nuts and you need to go daily. We need you. I think it's talking about the lack of shooting.
We wouldn't survive.
All right. So, lubrication on the brass.
Lube it when you go to reload, when you go to size it.
That's right.
Yep.
Why let it sit around and collect dust and particles that
collect
could
dust,
clog
Paul.
up your yeah?
It will attract dust. It will attract dust.
Yep.
Lubricant is a dust magnet.
Yeah, I mean, me personally, if I have like a big pile of brass that I don't plan to load anytime soon, or it's something I've got I'm pretty deep in, I'll just run it through my dry tumbler and then throw it in a gallon Ziploc bag and just shove it someplace. I won't bother lubing it. I won't bother wet tumbling it. I mean, I literally, I use my dry tumbler just like to knock the worst of the dirt and the corrosion and the pulverized lead off the round that's always left over after you shoot, just to kind of clean it up, make it a little nicer to handle. But other than that, I mean, no, absolutely don't lube it until you're ready to load.
Yep. Plus,
No
the other
reason.
problem
Jason, are you there? Jason, are you there?
No, he said he'd be back in a minute. The other problem you run into with lubing it in advance is when you lube in advance, depending on the type of lube, it may not be very lubricating, or it may not.
Lubricity.
There won't be much lubricity left
Exactly.
when he gets to it, because
Right.
it could evaporate.
Yeah, or worse, it could become tacky.
I could see Redding Imperial case size and wax possibly doing that, just based on the consistency.
Most of them would probably get tacky, especially depending on humidity. So,
Thank you, Phil. You just reminded me of something I almost started to do, and that's start resizing my 308 machine gun brass without proper lubricant.
I would allow.
By that, I'm talking about I'd have to dig up I'd have to find my lanolin, or go to the pharmacy and have the pharmacist order me some, or get either that or get a can of Redding sizing wax from Robin.
Just get a can of the Redding wax, and don't ever forget your lube. You'll like yourself a lot less if you screw that up. I've done it before. It's annoying.
Buy pure lanolin off of Amazon.
Yep.
And then go get you some 99.9% alcohol.
I have that heat out in the garage already.
Yeah, I mixed
I think
that up. That's what I've been. Go ahead, Jim.
I'm sorry. I think Jason. I know Jason used to use it. I think he still does, and I know now that you use it, Travis.
It's so much cheaper, and you can just make a whole bunch of it, and it's good stuff.
Yeah, but a can of Redding wax lasts. I'm still using my first can.
So
I'm the newest.
So I agree.
I'm the newest one here, but I've barely made a 1/4-inch divot in that can after loading.
Travis,
yeah, but it depends on how much you're reloading, though, Phil.
Okay.
If you're not gonna run
3
Imperial sizing wax through a 5-gallon bucket, right?
You're not gonna stop to lube up all of your brass going onto those 3 1050s behind you. Gotcha.
So I'm gonna start getting some more. I'm gonna start reloading for my 22. Yes, Jim, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to take and interrupt long enough to tell Phil that I do want to ask him a question after Travis is done. Sorry.
I was gonna say I'm gonna start doing some real hand loading for my 22 250 and getting that, going through all the proper steps once I get a case and niller going.
Turn on that light.
And for that, I will be getting some Imperial sizing wax and using that. But when you're doing a whole bunch of 9 or 223, you do not want to use up your Imperial sizing wax for that. And that lanolin iso heat mix is easy to make. It's cheap. And if you mix it properly, 10-1 or 12-1, you will not get a stuck case.
That sounds good.
Put it in a
That
cheap
sounds real
squirt
good.
bottle, and there you go.
Yeah, just buy one at Walmart. You can buy spray bottles at Walmart. How 10-1? You say 10? What do you mean by 10-1?
10
Jason?
parts alcohol to 1 part lanolin.
Oh my God! I got that
Yeah,
8-ounce bottle out there, and I would use less than 1 ounce of lanolin.
Yeah, I mix it 10-1 or 12-1. I can't remember. I got it written down, but I'm running fairly low. I got 8 ounces left in here, but yeah, I just bought this squirt bottle at Walmart and you just mix it up, and then I have a big Rubbermaid tote, and I pour all my brass in there, squirt it all down, shake it up, squirt it again, put the lid on, shake it all around, and then I have a little scoop. I can scoop it out and dump it in a case feeder. And I've been doing that for years, and I haven't had a stuck case.
Do you do that in your 1050s?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. 10-1, huh, Jason?
I think I do 12-1.
Okay.
I think
well,
I think I do 12-1 also.
I think I'll have to buy another bottle of iso heat to have a little quantity. That would give me 16 ounces of the stuff, and then put an ounce of lanolin with that.
Yep.
That'd
Yeah,
give me
I've heard
16-1.
I've heard guys messing up pretty bad though. They buy, I forget what kind of lanolin is out there, but you got to make sure it's the pure liquid lanolin. I think guys have bought in like that cream lanolin and thinking that they got the right stuff, and they can't figure out how to get it to work. But you want to get the pure liquid lanolin.
Yeah, it's yellow like the stuff in your bottle.
Yep, I'm guilty of that. The first lanolin I bought was the stuff in the little tube. The solid.
So now, so Jason, while I'm thinking about it, couldn't you use that cream lanolin just like a sizing wax though?
Yeah,
Couldn't you just rub some of that?
For. Yep.
Okay, so it's not like it's a waste. You still use it.
Right. Yep.
But you can't cut it down with the iso heat.
Nope, you can't.
Correct. Yeah.
There you go, Phil. There's a prepper tool for you. Another little tidbit for your survival toolbox. Sorry, guys, I'm holding the iPad.
And then Phil, you could also use that as it was intended. Sorry, I couldn't finish.
Wow.
He went there.
For those dry summer nights.
So what bringing it back around, Paul in the chat said what he'll do is he'll just take a lanolin, throw it on a rag, throw about 400 cases in a tumbler, turn it loose. He doesn't even bother mixing it up with alcohol.
Rather than ordering that lanolin cream you guys talking about, I would just as soon call Robin Sharpless up and say, "Hey, send me some."
What is that cat? In there just now? Something like a cat just now?
All right.
That was Phil laughing.
Okay, so I'm going to cat.
Phil, she heard you wheezing, and she thought there was a cat in the house.
So Jason, but that what we're mixing up with this lanolin iso heat, it is pretty much the exact recipe that Dylan sells as their Dylan case lube, right?
I believe so. That's what I've been told, and I cannot find a difference between the two because I still have a bottle of Dylan, and they are exactly the same as far as I can tell.
Well,
and they sell it in a little what 8-ounce something little bottle like that for $10.
It's like 4 or 6 or something like that. But yeah, $10 sounds about right.
So I buy a 10 at maybe a 16 ounce bottle maybe off of Amazon for $10, and then I buy a case of that ISO heat. Comes in a pack of 4, and you could make a gob of that stuff.
Guys, I will tell you this: there is that recipe. I know for a fact that recipe is posted in the reloading room. It's in the files section of the reloading room. It was filed a long time ago, and that's where Jason got the original recipe from a good friend of the reloading room by the name of Anthony Gorman.
Okay, yeah, just make sure you guys get the highest alcohol content you can. ISO heat's the best one to get.
Yellow bottle or red bottle?
The red one.
Yeah,
I know some guys will get 97% rubbing alcohol or something, and it's got, believe it or not, it's got too much water in there, and it can stain your brass. And it takes longer because the alcohol is actually just a carrier for the lanolin. So the lanolin's the lube, the alcohol is the carrier, and the alcohol will evaporate and leave behind the lanolin on your case. So the alcohol is just a carrier. And if you have the lower 97 grade or such alcohol, it's going to take longer for that alcohol to evaporate, and then it's going to leave behind some water on your cases. And if you do that and you leave it, you could come back and find you got some water stains and corrosion on your cases. Turns a little green.
Yep.
By the way, ISO heat is 99.9 or is 99% alcohol.
It's like 99.9995 or something like that.
According to the MSDS, it's 99 and 1% other crap.
Trace elements.
Yep. So
The Thomas Peterson says he hasn't stuck a case since he started making the Dillon lube, but he stuck a case with one shot.
Oh yeah.
And what I think, in my experience, is you use the one shot more sparingly because it costs you money, and there's not that much in that little aerosol can.
Right.
And when you got a big old spray bottle of homemade stuff real cheap, you just spray the heck out of it. I think that might be the difference.
There's
Right.
some psychology in that. That's right.
And we reloaders, we're doing it because we're thinking we're saving money, right? So why not make your own cheaper? And you don't actually save money. You get to use more of it.
You know, I can also say that between using the little RCBS, like the stamp pad and the lube that they include in the Rock Checker kit, and then moving over to a red and case sizing wax, the only case I've ever stuck using either one of those was the case this stupid SOB forgot to lube at all before he shoved it into the die. So, I mean, I don't know. I guess my way of looking at it is there's got to be a pretty fair margin for what's enough lube, because it's not like I was being scientific about it. I just kind of grease it up, shove it in there, and there it goes. Yes, that was intentional, Travis. I'm glad you picked up on that.
You kids.
Anyway, guys, let me interrupt. Okay. I just wanted to make my presence known and still enjoy my birthday. So I'm going to sign off.
all right.
Happy birthday, Jim.
Happy birthday, Jim.
Thanks, guys.
Old fart.
Thanks, guys. All right. Bye-bye, y'all.
Bye.
See you, Jim.
But yeah, I mean, I guess that's my only thoughts about what the right lube is or enough lube is. I've used almost everybody's used a couple different kinds of lube, and it seems like if you follow the instructions, it works okay.
So you know for sure when you have too much lube on your case, because you will get hydraulic deformation on your shoulder.
And in addition to that, if you have one of the little vent holes in your die, you'll start to see lube pushing out of that. Stop, Mike. Stop, Michael.
I didn't say
You'll see
like a lunatic over there.
I didn't say a word.
The other
You'll
problem,
see on the reloading threads on Facebook or wherever, and I've seen a lot of cases where they get that hydraulic deformation, and they think that there's something wrong with their die or they can't figure it out. But that's what it is you're putting too much lube on there.
Yep.
And it's causing that hydraulic deformation because it has nowhere else to go, and it's pushing back on that shoulder.
and the other issue I had when I first started reloading rifle was, for whatever reason, I had it in my head that it was really important to lube the shoulder and not so important to lube like the body of the round. And so even the thinnest smear on that shoulder can be enough to induce hydraulic denting. So I've had to like kind of discipline myself to, I mean, I use red case sizing wax, and I start from the bottom and lube from the bottom to the top, and I just skip over the shoulder completely. Because I figured there's enough residual lube left over in the die from running a bunch of rounds through it that you're going to wind up with a little bit on the shoulder anyway, but you don't need to intentionally lube the shoulder.
So here's the nice thing, though. When I do like my more precision rounds, I use the old RCBS pad with the RCBS lube, and I sit there. I hate it too. That's why I'm gonna try. I've never tried Imperial sizing wax, but I'm gonna try that. But the nice thing with the spray bottle doing bulk quantity, when you put them all in, like for me, put them in a tote, you shake them up. The brass is heavy on the head, so they actually stick. When you shake them, a lot of them are going to stick straight up with the case opening. You spray them, you're actually getting quite a bit of lube on the inside of the case on the neck. You know what I mean? So using the spray ball, you're actually getting a nice uniform spray, and then when you shake it up, you're actually spreading that around. You're getting a fairly uniform lubrication on a bigger quantity. Even guys will throw them in a 1 gallon Ziploc bag and take this lanolin lube mixture and spray it in the bag and just work it in the bag. And it's harder. I find when I'm using, let's say, the RCBS lube, like you just said, Phil, if you have, it depends. If you have a lot on your pad, you could actually get quite a bit on that shoulder that you're not even really paying attention with. And then you run it in your die, and you will get that deformation every once in a while if you're not paying attention.
Yeah. The only warning I can give about redding case sizing wax, bear in mind it's kind of a paste or a wax by its nature, so it's temperature sensitive. I learned this the hard way because I reload out in a garage in Southeast Louisiana where it gets like 95 to 100 degrees in the summer, plus the added heat and everything being captured by the fact that it's in a garage. And there's a sizable difference in the consistency of the stuff from summer to winter. In other words, you have to be a little concerned about picking up too much on your fingertips when it gets really hot, because it'll get almost like a sheen of liquid on the top, and you just run your fingers over it, and normally that's just fine to get enough to lube cases, but it can be too much if the stuff gets too hot. It's just something you kind of learn from experience. You have to be cognizant of it.
So when you're using that, are you bare hands and just like running your finger in it and putting on each case? Or because I'm liking what I've been seeing, some rubber gloves, putting some on your fingertips, then basically handling all your brass that way.
3 fingers, drag it across the cake. Stop.
I'm with you.
And then I just kind of rub my fingers and my thumb together, and then I hold the brass by the case head in one hand and just grab the bottom and kind of drag my fingers up the top. And just that little bit of transfer is all I've ever needed. But that's like the way I gauge it is that when you need to kind of like go back to the pad and get a little more lube on your fingertips the first time you go to shove a case in there, and it starts to feel different. You know what I'm saying? Like, when you have a case go into a die, what it feels like when it was a little bit too dry. It's not like it sticks, but it feels you feel a little more resistance. When you feel that, I go right back to the lube pad and then keep going.
Anybody who's ever stuck a case in a die knows exactly what you're talking about.
Yes, it's really
annoying.
That
scary feeling, yeah.
It's really annoying about 5 seconds after you stuck the brass and you think to yourself, I knew that was going to happen. But I couldn't get the message from the brain to the right hand to stop shoving the press handle.
So this is the RCBS case lube pad they're talking about.
devil.
It comes in this cool little plastic container. And what it is just foam. It's just foam. Somebody unmuted their flipping feed. So, but yeah, it's just a foam material, and it just absorbs. So, Phil, do you ever take it out and clean it?
I haven't used it in, I don't know, well over a year. Couldn't tell you how long.
Okay.
I've
Collecting-
never actually cleaned it. How do you wash it down with some dish soap, or how do you clean it?
Well, I would think so, but I don't know.
I've taken like a business card or whatever and scraped it down.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It pops out, so theoretically you could use like a, dish soap or something and let it dry.
So here is an old one from, I think this one's from the 60s. RCBS case lube pad, brand new, never used. And back then, it looks like they were just using like a cloth. This isn't that foaminess. This is like a cloth with something kind of like a little sponge underneath of it, maybe.
You could use a diaper, or you go to the auto parts store, and they've got the diaper cloths for taking care of your cars. You could make something using that too. So
Microfiber cloth, you're saying?
I wouldn't use microfiber.
Yeah, this is actually just like a cardboard backer.
Yeah.
With like a piece of just shirt, like cloth, cotton or something on there.
Yeah, it's probably the diaper cloth. Like if you ever do cloth diapers.
Yeah, that's exactly what this feels like.
Yeah.
But that's what it used to be back in the 60s, and then the one that Mike's showing us, it's like it's kind of like that Sham Wow material.
It's more of just a foam. So. Yep. So yeah, clean the pad, use Dawn dish soap. So wash it with your dishes, add flavor. Hey. And on that note, we'll wrap this puppy up for tonight. So if you're looking for places to see the show, there's the live YouTube feed, and then it's also posted over on gunstreamer.com. It's a newer spot. They're working on expanding the site to more than just videos, so there's a lot of good content over there. Go check it out. We're working on getting all of Firearms Radio Network over there, so you can see everybody that shoots video goes over there. So if you're shopping at Amazon or Brownells, swing over to firearmsradio.tv first. Hit the Brownells with the Amazon link. Doesn't cost you any extra money. Helps the network. So, Paul Travis said he believes that's felt. So, which it very well could be. Yeah, ink pad is what I was thinking of. Daryl in the chat just said ink pad. It's that foam is the same as like ink pad. So, but
That's what it reminds me of. Now that you say that.
yeah, like an ink pad for like if you've got a stamping kit, or
Mm-hmm.
if the kids have got all those different stamps, the little pads that hold the. That's all.
And I couldn't find it, but I have the original lube, and it's actually like really dark, like a super dark brown. I don't know if it's just aged and that's the color it's turned.
Probably.
But it does look just like if you say that now, you could pour on with like an ink pad.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, because I think the new lube is a different color. It's in the box, and I didn't want to dig for it. I just was looking for the pad. So
The
Yeah,
new
it's
lube
clear.
is pretty close to clear, maybe a slight off-white.
yeah, I mean, just make sure you're using the lube and making sure you're using it properly. So, what the signs are if you're using too much, and obviously you're going to figure out the hard way if you're not using enough. So, the one thing I found with One Shot, and I did in a demonstration video on this one night when we were going through, is all 4 directions. So I don't have a loading block handy, but so if you've got your loading block, you get your brass all sticking up, go this way, turn the loading block, go this way, turn the loading block, go this way, and then turn it one more time and go this way. So you're spraying it from all four sides, and you're spraying it down at an angle like this. So, you know, it's shooting down like this at the brass. You'll get some in the neck, which helps with the expander ball. I don't really care about that, but the big thing is making sure you're getting the outside. So
Now, when you're using that one shot, is honestly the biggest problem that guys aren't waiting long enough
usually,
for it to evaporate?
yeah, if you don't let it dry, it does not become, it stays sticky, and it doesn't actually have any lubricity to it. So that's a lot of the problem, is if you don't let it dry or you don't spray it at all four sides.
Yeah, because I hear it's not bad if you do it the way you're supposed to, but if you don't read the directions, which a lot of them hate doing.
I don't know. I'm on my fourth can, never stuck a case. So
How much does one can cost you, though?
$9.
$9. Yeah, you should try. Have you ever tried the lanolin mixture?
No, not yet. I will eventually. So, but I don't know how many cases I've done with a can of one shot. I never bothered to keep track. So, but yeah, it's one of those things, you know, just like everything else. So, yeah, Paul says, rotary tumbler with lanolin on a rag, 500 to 700 cases of 223 in 15 minutes. Done. I like that idea. Maybe I'll do that. Less messy. So, speaking of less messy, if you'd like to help us with this show by giving us questions, ideas, thoughts to talk about, send us an email at reloadingpodcast@gmail.com. Send us a text or leave us a voicemail at 608-467-0308. If you have a question, if that's not handy for you, you can swing over to Facebook if you're a Facebook nerd and leave us a post over at either the Reloading Podcast page or the group. If you have a question you need answered right away, swing over to Facebook and head to the Reloading Room. Use the Google search feature. The Reloading Room is many years old with lots of wisdom. So lots of stuff to draw from there. We, the podcast, are also on MeWe and Gun Groupie. We unfortunately do not spend as much time over there as we do on Facebook, but we're working on it. So, you know, sign up over there. The community on MeWe is really taken off. So a lot of good conversation over there. But and then, of course, can't forget about, where'd Travis go? Travis.
Yes.
Where else should they check for stuff reloading related?
I'll go to the Reloaders Network.
There you go.
There is also on the Reloaders Network, there happens to be some steel targets you guys should pick up. Some reloading supplies and some steel targets.
Yes, there is. Some very good steel targets. Made by Buckeye Targets. So, also want to take time to thank our Patreons. They send us their hard-earned money so that we can continue to do this and continue to improve the product and be able to do some product demos and giveaways and stuff like that too. So just grateful. So one of the things I'm going to do this weekend when I go to NRA is I'm going to take this little fun thing with me without all the extra crap and try and videotape as much stuff as possible while I'm walking around NRA. So the people that don't get to go actually can see what it looks like. And maybe they'll want to go. Next year it's in Nashville. So it's an awesome place to go. That was my first NRA show 5 years ago. I know a couple listeners are already planning trips. So
yeah, the cool thing about that is SHOT Show is only open to people in the industry, but NRA is open to the public.
Yes.
And from what I hear a lot, I haven't been to any of them, but from what I hear, a lot of people really enjoy NRA over SHOT.
SHOT is very business-like. Everything's serious. The people that are there to be earning money or spending money when, spending money to earn money. A lot of it is a lot of new product stuff, whereas NRA isn't as much. NRA is just let's let everybody see our cool products hands-on and stuff, and it's a lot more relaxed atmosphere.
Well, there's no purchasing at SHOT, whereas NRA, you can actually purchase stuff. Like you see something, there's vendors there selling stuff is what I'm saying.
Yeah. So, yep. And worst case scenario, if you show up at NRA and you're not an NRA member and you want to go in, you just pay it's usually $25 for your 1-year membership, or depending on what they're doing, and then you can go in for the weekend. So, and you're an NRA member. So, but on that note, gang, keep your brass shiny.
Be an asset, not a liability.
Get out and do some bullet casting.
Buy it cheap and stack it deep.
And for the old man, because it's past his bedtime, squeeze.
Happy birthday, Jim.
Happy birthday, Jim.
Birthday, old man.
Happy birthday, old timer.
Don't jerk it.